What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, we had a bit of controversy breakout around Valve's secret game that they've been working on called Deadlock, as a preview went live. Unfortunately, it wasn't exactly something that people were excited to see because Valve themselves didn't really want any information out there yet, but we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch 2, as we now have conflicting reports appearing online against what we had just talked about when it comes to the release timing of this new system. And then we'll also be talking about Gamescom, as that is coming up next week, and it looks like Jeff is going to have quite the show here to go over. So if you guys enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button, helps it a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members to the channel do get Newswave early. If you'd like to learn more about that, click the join button down below this video. And we're going to start today with Concord. I know everyone's really excited for this. It is out next week on the 23rd, so I figured, hey, we'll take a look at the roadmap that they just released yesterday to give everyone out there who's going to be playing it, the 12 people, an idea of what's to come. We can see this posted up over on PlayStation Blog. And it is the game overview for August 23rd with the 6 modes, 12 maps, 16 free gunners, 8 variants. You can build your crew, play, progress, personalize. Season 1, they have set up for October. So they have a new free gunner, a new map, new variants, quality of life updates, new cosmetics and rewards, new vignettes. January, they have Season 2. All right, so new free gunner, new mode, new map, new variants, quality of life updates, new cosmetic rewards. Pretty much actually like the same thing just about, except for the new mode being thrown in there. Looks like then the next season would be in April. It appears to have been cut off here in this image, but really, looking at this, yes, they do already have a plan in place. It seems anyway for, I figure, at least the first year post-launch. And that's going to be the biggest question, is can they attract enough people to keep going with it? Because that's the big thing that people forget about with live service games. Yes, there is a big cost up front to just develop the game and release it, but there's also a pretty big cost after it comes out to maintain it. And that also means they need to have a large number of people, I would say, playing a game like this going forward, or it's just not financially viable. So we'll see how things look after launch on the 23rd. I'm not expecting any crazy numbers, but I guess weirder things have happened. Also, we did have a delay that was announced yesterday. This is for Replaced, which is a game that was first shown, I believe, at the Xbox Showcase like in 2021, and it was supposed to have come out the following year. So yeah, we're quite a ways off from their original release timing, but we can see this was posted up over on their official account where they say, we'll keep it short, Replaced will now be released in 2025. Our initial release date was optimistic, and we apologize for that. Developing Replaced is quite a unique challenge, and we're proud to be creating something that's special. However, interesting little tidbit here. They say Replaced was featured at Summer Game Fest earlier this summer, and now it will also finally be available at Gamescom for everybody to play. Come say hi. For those not attending, we've prepared something special for later this week. So it does make me think that maybe there is a demo that they are going to release for people at home to play. I mean, that's obviously the thing outside of, okay, if you're not going to be attending Gamescom, well, then maybe we'll bring the game to you at home. So I think a demo would be nice to see, and at least something to check out here for Replaced, as we're waiting now an additional, what we'll say, 6 to 8 months. I mean, I feel like, yes, it's coming out in 2025, but probably not like at the end of 2025, maybe like first half. So not like a massive delay, but still, this game is probably going to end up being about 3 years off of when it was originally supposed to come out. Oh, and we do have Black Myth Wukong coming out next week, and there's actually a benchmark tool you can try on your PC right now. This is over on Steam, which you can see. And I also noticed that the concurrent player count at one point for the benchmark tool was over 80,000 people. So it does seem like many people on PC right now, specifically on Steam, are at least trying it out to see how their PC setup will hold up for it. I tried it with like a 3080 Ti. It was very high settings. 60 frames per second seemed to be good around 1440p. Turn ray tracing on the very high though, and half that frame rate. It looks great, But yeah, I would be probably turning ray tracing off if I was playing it on PC. But still, you can download the benchmark tool, is about 9 gigabytes, see how things go with your build. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Valve's secret game that they have had in development for a little while now. And we've actually talked about some of the rumors here and there on it, as some information did get out online ahead of this alpha test that's been running recently. In fact, now we've seen this alpha test move up to like 20,000 concurrent players that's tracked over on SteamDB, but it appears Tom Warren over at The Verge actually got an invite and decided to check this test out and then do an entire preview write-up for it. And it appears Valve wasn't too happy about it. We could see this over on The Verge, where they say it's a 6-on-6 shooter, like the original Overwatch, where your team of heroes attempts to dominate a map by slowly wearing down the opposing team and pushing them back, but you're also leading an army of NPC grunts down 4 different lanes to destroy the opposing team's stationary defenses, a little like Dota 2 or other MOBA games. It also notes that this does appear to be completely developed and distributed by Valve, which does make it exciting for PC gamers because you don't really see Valve make too many games anymore. So when you see something like this, you go, okay, well, maybe I want to try this out. And actually, it's been pretty easy to get in. It seems like people can just send invites out to their friends and then they can join in. So if you know someone, I guess, who is playing it, they can then send you an invite. And that seems to be how this thing has ballooned to over 20,000 concurrent players. But here's the thing about this situation. While The Verge, Tom Warren says, I'm not under NDA, I've signed no contracts and made no verbal agreements, I haven't even clicked through a EULA. Well, when you first turn this test on, it does say early development build. Deadlock is still in early development with a lot of temporary art and experimental gameplay. Do not share anything about the game with anyone. Which, if you're Valve and it's this easy to send out invites, like, what do you expect to happen? People are going to post up gameplay, which they have. Social media, I've seen gameplay footage of this already just kind of floating around on places like Twitter, so it's not shocking that maybe a write-up like this would happen just because it seems so accessible. Still, though, if you see that message pop up, and Tom Warren trying to justify it a bit, saying, oh, I didn't click OK, I hit escape and it let me through, it's like, okay, well, maybe OK is the only thing selected here, and when you press escape, it just clicks that for you. But either way, he's technically correct in that there is not a non-disclosure agreement being signed here, and that is an important aspect. If you've ever filled out an NDA, it is generally very formal, it's very professional, and it has all kinds of clauses in there that are basically like, will ruin you if you put out any of this information. So there is a pretty serious screening process and signing process before you even say get your hands on the game. With that said, though, it appears Valve was not happy with it because he went back and updated his story saying, turns out Valve was not fine with me trying Deadlock with friends. I've been banned from matchmaking. Oh well, please feel free to make fun of me in the comments, and the internet promptly obliged him on that one. But again, I feel like looking at this one, it is sort of that unwritten rule of, hey, whatever you're reporting on here through this preview, because it is so experimental and so early on, like some of the character models just missing textures completely. So you're going in there and they're just playing around with this Deadlock game. The thing with Valve, I feel like most of us have noticed, they're not exactly pressed to make games because Steam just makes them so much money and they're a private company, so they're not out there with public reports and stuff to investors. They're kind of just doing what they want, and Deadlock appears to be something that they want to do, but they also want to make sure they get it right, and they're listening to community feedback, and then here comes somebody from The Verge spending time in that world and then writing up an entire preview for a game that will probably look way different if it ever even comes out, say, a year or two down the line or something. Even in that preview, they kind of talk about how it doesn't even seem like Valve is like that interested necessarily in getting this game out. Yeah, because they're all testing it right now, and it's probably going to change quite a bit as they go along and get that feedback. But just a strange situation. If it was me, I probably would have just tried the game out, the test out at this point, and then kind of moved along, mostly because I've done that with a couple of games now that had very similar little agreements in front of me, and I never really talked about them. Next up, let's talk about Red Dead Redemption 1 on the PC, which has been a long-running rumor with different leaks coming from Rockstar and Take-Two themselves with their website, and now even PlayStation getting involved. This is very weird. See, there was a listing over on the PlayStation Store. that appear to reference this game on PC. We can see this posted up. This is over on PC Gamer. They say this is the listing for the game on the PlayStation Store, saying experience the epic Western adventures that define a generation, now on PC for the first time ever. This is for Red Dead Redemption, featuring the complete single-player experiences of both games, including bonus content from the Game of the Year edition. Red Dead Redemption features all of the 2023 console version upgrades, plus PC-specific enhancements, including support for increased resolutions, frame rates, multiple displays, and other accessories, plus spatial surround sound. So this is obviously a very weird mistake to have this listing on PlayStation Store for the PC version of Red Dead Redemption. You just have to assume that something in the back end there, wires got crossed, whether it's with Rockstar, Take-Two, or I guess Sony, which again, weird stuff, because typically you'd have the publisher push the store listing pages that would appear on the console. So I guess I would look at Take-Two or Rockstar in this case. But it's pretty obvious, as we've been seeing these things pop up, it's not coincidental. Yeah, eventually this game is going to PC. Seems pretty clear that they have this build set up and they've been working to get this moved to PC. And it does seem strange that it's been difficult, but apparently the code and it didn't exactly transfer over to PC very neatly, so they've been working to figure that out. And hey, I guess along the way, they maybe have added all kinds of enhancements and even had the extra content added in. So I think it's going to be really cool when we do see this eventually released on PC. And the fact that we see listings like this appearing online makes me think that we're pretty close to it. And most likely what will happen is one day they'll just announce it on Twitter, and then they'll push trailers to places like YouTube, and then it'll be out in like a week or two, showing up on digital storefronts like Steam. And again, that'll be very, very exciting when that eventually happens, because I feel like the PC community has been waiting for quite some time to see this happen, especially the modding community that have tried to just make it work out in general with their own builds that Rockstar and Take-Two weren't exactly thrilled to see, so they took care of all of that. Well, maybe that means we'll eventually end up with the original game just moved to PC, because then, you know, the modding scene will annoy Rockstar and Take-Two all over again with that one. Next up, let's talk about that legendary, that fabled Nintendo Switch 2, something that's been talked about for years now, and in fact, we've talked about it couple of times this week, because we're seeing reports and rumors get thrown around out there right now, seemingly as we're heading up to the reveal of this system. At least it seems like Nintendo, according to these rumors, is getting something ready to show. Well, now we have a series of headlines that appears to completely conflict and push against everything that was just said. We can see this, for example. This is posted up by Nintendo Everything. Here's a headline. Rumor developers told Switch 2 not coming until April 2025 at the earliest. We also have VGC saying developers reportedly told not to expect Switch 2 to launch before April 2025. This is according to GamesIndustry.biz head Christopher Dring. And he said, quote, "No developer I've spoken to expects it to be launching this financial year. In fact, they've been told not to expect it in the current financial year. A bunch of people I spoke to hope it's out in time, April or May, still early next year, not late. I don't think any of us wants a late launch for Switch 2 because we all want a new Nintendo console. Everyone gets very excited for it, and we don't want that crunch of Grand Theft Auto 6 and Switch and all that kind of stuff on top of each other." So, very quickly, I think most of you know by now, if you've been watching this channel for any length of time, and we've talked about Nintendo's financials, what they're discussing here isn't the calendar year, as I saw some people on social media, YouTube comments go, well, yeah, obviously it wasn't coming out this year. Like, it's August. It's not going to come out all of a sudden in November. They haven't even announced the thing yet. They're talking about the financial year, the fiscal year, which would end March 31st. Again, many of you know this already, but just clarifying that. So that would mean, yes, the latest or the earliest it would launch would be April 2025. They're thinking April or May time period is the hope, like crossing their fingers, please, Nintendo. And they're saying that because you really don't launch a system during the summertime, June, July, August, because behind the scenes, of course, there are many, many people that would come together, logistics, everything, to launch a system like Nintendo's very, very popular successor to the Switch globally. And a lot of times throughout the summer, as I'm sure many of you know, people go on vacation and they spend time out of the office, enjoying the nice weather, sure, but really going out and doing things outside of just work. So typically you get a lot of these events to start popping back up after E3 and everything later in August, as we're seeing here soon with Gamescom and then Tokyo Game Show. And then you get in the holiday season and it's like all hands on deck for the big holiday push. So in this instance, yeah, it kind of feels like threading the needle if you want it to come out before summer, that April or May time period. And he mentions going into the holiday season 2025. I don't think anyone really wants the Switch 2 to come out holiday 2025. Like, we're still more than a year away from this thing releasing. It sounds kind of wild, really, when you consider it's a chip that was from 2015, so it's a 10-year life cycle for that X1. I mean, kind of impressive on Nintendo's side to be able to make that happen. But still, you figure, okay, April, May, yeah, that could actually work for them. And also, I would prefer that because it worked really well with the Switch to get it out earlier in the year and then have stock replenished, the initial demand kind of dying down at least a little bit, so you don't then compound that on top of, say, the holiday push where people are already rushing out looking for consoles, and the latest, hottest thing would be Nintendo's next-gen system, along with, yes, Grand Theft Auto 6, and you stack all of that up, and it would just be a wild and chaotic time. So I do hope Nintendo has plans to get this thing out first half of 2025, and all this has really just reminded me of what happened when the Switch was first coming out, which were just conflicting reports all over the place until Nintendo just eventually dropped that Switch trailer out of nowhere. We were off to the races for March. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Gamescom, which is taking place next week, August 20th. That'll be at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and it does appear that Jeff Keighley is at least putting together a good show, I guess. I don't really go into Gamescom expecting reveals that are on the level of an E3, or I guess now a Summer Game Fest, a showcase, a time period, maybe end of the year with Video Game Awards. It's a bit lower than those in terms of big reveals, but still, it does seem like we're going to get updates for known games and then maybe a few fun little surprises. Well, Jeff did take to Twitter over on his official account, where he just started listing different games that are confirmed to be there. There are also a few others that have been at least discussed outside of these messages that Jeff Keighley put out there from some of the companies. So we'll go over a few here. Starting at the top, we do have Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Starfield Shattered Space, which I believe that will have a theater showing. Avowed will also be there, same deal. Monster Hunter Wilds, Marvel Rivals, Dune Awakening, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. We are expecting, I think, a release date for Indiana Jones since it's August and apparently it's coming out this year, and I'm kind of still thinking December for that one, actually. So we'll look for the release date on that one at this showcase. We have Sid Meier's Civilization 7, Batman Arkham Shadow. That is the Quest VR game that they've shown us a couple times now, and this, I guess, is where we're going to see gameplay for the first time. Towerborn, that's also supposed to be out this year, looking for a release date at this event. Splitgate 2, which people have been playing and actually been heaping a ton of praise on this game. It's not out till next year, but I would like to see more of this one, as I am looking for kind of the more old school arena style shooters that aren't necessarily as much like a battle royale or, something like that. They're also expecting a new game from Sega. What? Hard to say. We've gone into this before with Sean thinking he was going to get a new Knights game, and then we got Humanity and immediately let him down. So maybe don't go in with high expectations for this new Sega game, but it could still be something fun. So overall, I do think Jeff is at least putting together a competent show, one that should at least be fun to watch and get some big updates, I'm sure, for current games. And of course, always crossing my fingers for some big surprise. But again, going to Gamescom, I keep those expectations in check. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, what's your prediction for Black Myth Wukong's Metacritic score? 44% got it in somewhere in 80 to an 84. Okay, 85 to 89 is 27%. 79 or lower, wow, 20%. Some people were really shooting for the stars here with 7% and 90 to 94. And then 3% are like, this is game of the year already. 95 plus. I think I'm going to sit I'm thinking like an 85 or an 86. So I'm in that 85 to 89 range. I am excited though for this one. I think it's just because the game does look unique, very unique, genuinely different from a lot of games that I've played. And originally I thought I was going to this as it was a Souls game. Like, here we go. That is actually now kind of its own subsector, its own genre that I look at and I hear. It's like, oh, we're going for this Souls-like approach. And I go, okay. Some of that fatigue is starting to set in a bit, but once they said, no, that's not the case here, it's an action RPG style game, which technically Souls still kind of like that, but not playing into sort of the skeleton of a Souls-like game. I am interested. So yes, I will definitely be checking this game out when it releases next week, and we'll see what we have. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Herman, who says, why would Nintendo announce the new Switch this year and ruin this year's holiday sales when the new Switch would be out next year? So I will tell you this, if Nintendo is not planning to launch the Switch 2 until holiday 2025, I don't think we would see it this year. I think they would reveal it January, February of next year, and then spend all of 2025 building up marketing, making the rounds, touring, and then getting ready to launch the thing, say, in like September, October, November, somewhere in there, right? If they were going to launch it in first half next year, you kind of have to start talking about it like 6 months out. So that's why I'm looking at maybe October at the latest to showcase this thing in a trailer and get people excited. Would it hurt their system sales for the holiday? Probably yes. Would it like absolutely destroy them? Probably not, because there are people out there who would still want to buy the $200, say, Switch Lite for kids, and that's it. They wouldn't really want to buy, potentially, the $400 premium system that Nintendo's hyping up with things like DLSS, ray tracing, that kind of stuff. So at this point, Nintendo sold more than 140 million Switch systems. Their sales are coming in softer now for the hardware, which you would expect. They're at a market saturation, I feel like, as in everyone who wants a Switch has a Switch. Now it's all about selling software, and if this new system is fully backwards compatible and they show it in the trailer, software's not going to take a hit, so why would they really care then? So that's kind of my reasoning why I think they can still show it in October and still have a fairly successful holiday season. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. And if you missed yesterday's Newswave, I have it up here in the card right next to me. Or maybe you want to hear about how a brand new Super Nintendo cartridge releasing next year could change all kinds of things about the retro market going forward. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.